rolling. Those in the windshield wipers snapping out the tempo, playing perfect rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling.
Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo podcast. This week, I'm joined by my friend, Mr. Mike Hruby.
Hey,
There's
Steve.
only one of this guy in the world, so let's. Actually, there's a hockey player named Mike Hruby too, but different story. But
like you, Steve, one of a kind here.
yeah. Always a pleasure to have you on, Mike. So thank you for
Steve.
joining.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to go through a couple things today. We're going to go through lies in labor law. I think I put them both in the title even. And this California gig worker union. I don't know. Both are a joke, I guess. I'm just going to speak that easily. But I think that I know that you've been working on this lies in labor law thing. And I think that would probably be the better way to start because it'll easier fold into the other one.
Okay.
So where do we start with this?
Well, there are a few flaws in labor law, actually. And what we've been doing over on the Be My Own Boss podcast is we've taken a look at the five major flaws and talked about them, and they all hurt independent contracting. We don't need to go through all five, but the first one, the most important one, is that there is no objective standard for what is an independent contractor. Every independent contractor who wants to be one knows that he or she is one, but it's not in the law, and there's no definition. And there never has been in 87 years. So it starts with that. You can't get protection. You can't get help from an attorney because the attorney doesn't know. It's not in the law. It's what the people in the legal apparatus decide your case will be, and who wants to go through that.
But there's tax laws for self-employed and stuff. So I guess that really that translates over.
But the labor departments don't have to respond to that. They're allowed to ignore that. They have their own little carve out, their little labor world, like they have their own little EEOC world. And they make their own rules. They have their own cases. They have their own judges. And that's what happens to independent contractors. So absolutely unfair. It's false. It gives the illusion of law, and it's only punishment. That's all it is.
But
so
I guess let me ask you this: what took so long to find this?
For who to find?
Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about 87 years. First of all, anything 87 years ago, I think we can all agree is dated in an age when AI can create a website in 4 seconds.
Steve?
So, I mean, I guess my point is people have done this, paid their taxes, not have any and had anybody bothering them for 87 years. What's up with it now?
The vague definition has become more impossible to reach. And that is this ABC test, which has been modified over the years without people really acknowledging it. And then finally crystallized in 2004 in Massachusetts under the careful attendance of Marty Walsh, former Secretary of Labor and now fabulously well paid was it chief counsel of the hockey players
union.
Somebody,
I feel like he's not that position anymore, but maybe he still is. I know he was. Somebody told me
I saw his name recently.
Okay,
it's a big deal. That's the top of the pyramid here.
That's why I was thinking. We talked about this years ago. He probably made enough in 3 years, where he made what he made is 20 years in Massachusetts.
Oh, this is no. He has had a lot of authority, and he has had the full backing of the AFL-CIO. He is a loyal soldier in the upward march of the career march within the labor industry. That's the phrase to remember is that labor law is an industry. And you asked the question moments ago, why hasn't anyone solved these problems? It's because everybody who's associated with them likes the way it is, because it allows them basically to suck revenue, money, cash out of employers' pockets for committing the crime of working with a willing independent contractor.
Mhm.
And like nobody resists this because they all get money from it. Even the defense attorneys get money from it.
Mhm.
So with everybody in on the grift, the only people who are excluded from this are independent contractors themselves. So it's just fabulous, from a money making standpoint. So so we went down this list of flaws, and the fifth one we came to was salting, which is the idea that an individual can, on their own or paid by somebody else, or remunerated in some way, can go impersonate an independent contractor to a prospective client and say, yeah, I'm Mike Hruby. I actually want to be an independent contractor and I'd like to take this job. And then a couple days or weeks or months later, turn in the client and say, no, they were treating me like an employee. And so I think I've been cheated. My bonuses, my time, my vacation, my health care, my pension, all the good bonuses you have in your company, that these guys have cheated me out of. And then they can disappear, having made what is effectively a false testimony. They're now out of the picture because nothing in labor law requires the independent contractor to make a statement or to be cross-examined.
Well, when you said impersonate, couldn't it, I mean, not that it would be Mike Hruby, but couldn't it also be you that did it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm just using my name, so I'm not casting aspersions on someone else.
Because you and I both, I think you know Gail Gordon as well. I know Gail pretty well.
Yes.
That happened to Gail after AB5. She put on one of her nonprofit shows, and somebody after the 4 days of production ended, went to the EDD and claimed unemployment.
Yep.
And that got her a whatever. I don't want to misquote it, but I think it was around $20,000 fine.
Put her out of business, I think, didn't it?
Well, she was already out of business because of AB5.
Oh, great. So now she's out of business and the penalty.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's how the system works. That's the desired outcome of a system like this, because she will, of course, because she's a human being, tell everybody else in her occupation and all her customers and those who listen, and everyone will get scared. And that's it. You want the secondary benefit is that the left seeks is to squeeze buyers out of the market.
I think you're spot on with that, because she talks to all of the musical and other opera houses, and like they're their own group,
right,
in California. So she probably right away told them, and they were all, I don't know how to word it correctly, so just be careful, but they were all finding ways to have productions for just being very careful right after AB5.
Yeah.
But I think this put an extra scare into them.
Well, that's the purpose. I mean, that wasn't someone who all of a sudden after a 4-week production or something figured out, oh, wait, no, that's all intentional because it's lying.
Do you think it's always salting, as you call it? Or do you think that like somebody, because this was pandemic era too, do you think somebody literally worked for her and said, you know what, I got no other work right now, I'm just going to see if I can get unemployment?
Yep. The unemployment, that's a great point. The unemployment is bait to because the employer has no defense, because there's no objective standard. So, yes, the system works this way by intent, Steve.
And well, then I have to ask the question that even though gig workers are independent contractors, I mean, not that it's right, but couldn't they go to the unemployment office if they're deactivated? By the way that you're describing things right now,
they can always apply. I mean, it's a free country. I can't. You can apply for unemployment, but
I'm not saying they should, and I'm not saying they're going
Yeah.
to get a dime. I'm just saying if they and they shouldn't. In
No,
fact,
there's
I'm going
nothing.
to say they shouldn't.
There's nothing hindering anyone from applying for government benefits.
I'm actually bringing it back to your term, salting. Couldn't somebody be salting in that way to get the gig apps in trouble?
Yes, but that is much harder to detect. I mean, if someone some CDE type of company says, we're not using independent whatevers anymore, and so we're not going to buy from you. And someone who doesn't necessarily following the news said, oh, that must mean I can get unemployment insurance. They march down and apply, and they look at the and then the authorities take over, and they have their own processes. It varies by office, it varies by state, varies nationally.
Yeah.
And they can look into why this is. And the way the law is written, no employer actually has a defense in any ABC type of labor law environment. And as what they're trying to do is get this into national law, have that same test with the PRO Act and other means. So
yeah, I guess, and my take to all the gig workers is do not do this. This was just an example I was putting to Mike. Do not, because you're not going to get anything. It's going to be a headache. It's just going to be a problem. I was just wondering if it would cause a hiccup in the system. The system, potentially get the company in trouble. But again,
yes,
if you've been deactivated, don't do it. It could get you into a mess too.
Right. But see here's this wonderful gray area that the law allows, is that the law now has allies among innocent people who thought one thing and without knowing it, and wound up being on the side of the unions and all the grifting classes who are deliberately making the situation confusing. If there were some method to like what we proposed is a sign up, elect independent contractor status, get your independent contractor ID, then that person would know automatically. Their friends and their attorneys and their family will tell them, hey, you're an IC. You don't get benefits, but you get a much better career opportunity out of it.
Mm-hmm. Here's John Lopez saying, not always salting app-based businesses aren't helping their cause to keep in the 1099 IC model.
I think he's correct about his first sentence fragment. It is not always salting, but the salting part is the fraudulent part.
Right.
But there is, see that the employer, if you had an SEIN system, which is what we're proposing, just a quick no cost number system, like for any, for a trust or a
like we've talked about with the token.
Yeah, right. The token. We still have
mine are up on my wall right there.
Still have it, if we had that, the employer would say, okay, fine, and let's see your let me have your number or see your token or your sheet, or and then the employer has a defense. Look, this job, to analyze 400 samples of something, this job was contracted with someone who put themselves up as an independent contractor. Now they say they aren't. That's perjury. That's a major crime. Everyone would tell him, her, don't do that. Don't the same way. Don't fool around with your taxes. Pay them. If you have a dispute.
I think we all are on the same page. That I happen to think that maybe there's some benefits to IC model, but I believe the people I know all pay their taxes because they get so tricky that you have to worry more about W-2 people not paying than ICs. Right.
So, I mean, you want a situation, if you're in charge of public policy, which I am not, I'm a kibitzer, you want a policy that everyone understands. Everyone. and so all you have is the gray area around the edge of people who didn't know better and people who should have known better and actually did know better but forgot it. I mean, they're all this gray area, but it gets worked through. I mean, people don't kill people by accident. They kill people on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And you should know, if you're messing around wrestling, that you're doing a dangerous thing if you're not careful. Every wrestler knows that.
So when I had John on, here's the last comment, and then we'll kind of keep moving here. But he says the app-based businesses, because him and I talked about this exactly, are exercising more control over the drivers, and would not even qualify under the common law test.
I've stated on this program and on mine that lost my train of thought there.
Common law testing for app-based gig workers?
Yes. Still lost it.
Oh. I mean, but I mean, he's saying that even if you go back to like a common law, which everybody should pass if they're an IC.
This is a contract dispute, and just as if a building contractor and a contractor that lays cement did it wrong or didn't do it or overcharged or something like that, didn't meet specs, they can go to court. And that's what should be happening here. There should be, well, we've talked about this. Any app who employs a large number of people, like the driving apps do, should have at least 7 or 8 segments, and each segment can have its own contract, and everybody can see what those contracts are. And then the company puts them up and says, this is good for, until canceled with a 90-day notice or something. And everybody understands what the rules are. Right now, they're not behaving according to whatever their contract is, because they just change it. I understand why they're doing it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I'm not criticizing them, but if I were talking to an attorney, he'd say, well, their attorney should tell them to stop that. So I don't know, that's not the way it should be. So, but to go and unionize in order to solve this problem is a disaster for the drivers, because the union and the company cannot help but collude, and that's what happens. And the platforms will, if this keeps grinding along and the drivers are pushing in the wrong direction, the drivers make all the difference because they're a huge number of people, huge number of voters.
But they're not exercising their voice at all.
That's correct. That's good, but there.
I'm sorry, drivers, but you're not. We've asked so many times, and
it's the absent voice. It's the absent voice. The unions will privately say, if they even have to the company, look, we'll give you a regulatory environment. We'll represent your people, and we will work with the state legislature that we control, and we will make sure that you are the only company that can afford to pass these requirements. You can pass all the cost along to your end users, and we're going to give you a bargain because we'll be able to do things in the negotiating that will lower your cost per driver per ride. And that, for companies that don't know better, that is a very attractive option. Oh, I get a monopoly. I'll tell my investors.
I was just going to say that, though. A government created monopoly. Even though they do so much wrong, these companies are smarter than that. They can't afford the some drivers on these platforms are on for 2 hours and quit.
Yeah.
They don't even do one shift. Yeah. And I mean, way more so than any given job out there in the world. Like, the churn rate is unreal. They would never be able to, even with the most of help from a state, they would never be able to keep up with unemployment.
There is almost no limit to what a good contract can accommodate. A good way. If you look at any,
you still would have to pay them unemployment, though.
You mean if they were,
if they went to some kind of model like that and monopolized it, which, first of all, I thought this country was against monopolizing.
It is. The country's against it, but what we know, remember that the elected officials do not represent their constituents. They represent people who elect them, people who pay for them, people who support their campaign with rashers of free labor, and people who can make threats, in private, like, if you don't, then we will.
Would that be like inverted salting? like the people who are funding the, all these super PACs and stuff who fund these.
That's campaign finance. Definitely not salting.
Right. That's why I said inverted.
Yeah.
It's like the opposite, but they're still kind of.
I'll have to think about that. It's taking fantasy truth to the next higher level.
Sure.
What the drivers, if the drivers think they're going to, unionization is going to be better, they should look at the post office. They should look at the car companies that we no longer have. They should look at the tire and rubber companies, because those jobs have gone elsewhere. Mm-hmm. They've either moved to a different region or they moved overseas. Some of them are coming back. Then they're going to be, robotized, automated.
Yeah.
So the ideal next step for all parties would be for a contingent of drivers to talk directly, without labor harassment and opportunism, to talk directly about contract or contract management. How are we going to manage this agreement between us? I don't think either the apps or the drivers appreciate how threatening the union, getting the unions in there. They will drive the company out of business.
And so John hits on this right here and says, has Uber recognized the app? Because there's an app drivers union in Massachusetts. And this kind of goes back to what you and I talked about a long time ago, that they had to have 51% plus of the drivers on board to be able to make it work. Right now they have like 0 people on board.
The app drivers union, what sort of organization is that? Is that a union funded organization? Is it a pre-union organizing committee? Is it
John's answer? Because when he was on here, he brought it up and I hadn't heard the term. I mean, I knew because it related to a lot of what you and I talked about when that 3250 active time law went into effect.
Right.
Which again, I know a lot of drivers in the Boston area. None of them are benefiting from it. In fact, it's harder to get on the platform now. Same thing, exactly what we said would happen has happened already.
Yep. Well, as the prices go up, the volume's going to go down. So there's less room for anybody. It doesn't matter how you cut it. There are going to be fewer jobs and they're going to pay less. And that's what happens when you unionize what becomes the cream of the jobs, and everybody else is at, they pull the ladder up behind them. And you've heard that phrase before. You can't climb it anymore. And the greed is almost irresistible for people with power, even little power. And so you have to keep it in mind. Is that, and you have to get out ahead of it. You always try to get ahead of the problem. If you wait, as many drivers are, well, if it gets tight, then I'll complain. This is way down the road from that. You got to complain now. And I wish people would go and actually sit in front of their legislator or stand in the reception office asking to see the legislator. And look, I'm just an ordinary guy. They can say, I make my living. I've got a wife and 3 kids, and I can make a living if I can do it freely. But if they unionize it, my schedule won't be my own, and et cetera, et cetera. I live out a ways from town. They're going to call me in. It won't work.
And so that's where I say, to some of the people, because I'm getting in touch with other states, with other people, not just for them, with them, because I need them to be involved. But I've told people that, listen, this all started in California and stuff, that all that noise started with 5 people who wanted to be a union, doing exactly what you just said, and no people sitting outside the office not wanting it, when actually 99% don't want it.
Right. Well, look at that article you read in the that article on the California legislation. You know, they interview what? They interview one guy for a union and one
Yeah.
guy who's against, and
And neither of those
how many-
names ring anything. They just pick two drivers.
right, two drivers. I like get inside it. But
Yeah.
I mean, the media. See, the media. The media is one of the 10 classes of willing liars. Steve, how's that?
Yeah.
The headliner I use here is that pro-union media reporters are inserting the union perspective into their reporting work as impartial opinions meant to illustrate public opinion, but that's not what the public opinion is. The public loves having rideshare. You know, it's such a cool thing.
Obviously, we can tell that because California voters, that's the bluest state there is. 60% of them voted to let them stay independent.
Right.
And that's what John's already asking, AB 1340 question mark. And yeah, we're going to get into that. But he also, before that, he says union funded pre-union by SEIU, local 32 BJ, and I think it's IAM or something. They did it with some of the machinists too. They did one of those things where they build it in with another group, and
see the unions.
That's for Massachusetts. This is to answer your question.
A labor union, workers union would be fine if it was competitive, like every other part of the competitive sector.
Mm-hmm.
But they have this deal in the federal law, and it's in most of the states, that of what's called exclusive representation. Well, you get with exclusive representation, you get misbehavior. Like that's the way it is. So, but everybody ignores that too. But that doesn't apply as much to independent contractors because they're employers and shouldn't even be in the labor department. They should be in contract law and courts if people misbehave.
So before we move to this AB 1340, while we're on this lies in the labor law, what can people do? I mean, I know you just said go stand outside the legislator's office, but what else? What if somebody can't bite on that one? What else helps?
Well, you can at least email or phone call your representative you'll have two in your state, a senator and a representative, regardless of the name, and you'll have two in the U.S. Senate and one federal congressional. Remember, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people at least. If you could just email them something, just call their office number and say, I'm Phil, and can we just please be independent contractors? Why don't you come up with a good definition, and we can live with that. We don't want to associate with anybody but our family and our friends and our clients.
Is there a way to CC something when you're emailing these people?
Sure.
That goes to something where if your elected official sees it, they're like, oh no, they CC'd this person.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like a threat, but to know this person received it too.
Yes, it is definitely possible to do that. You send it to Congressman A, and you're going to send it to, could send it to Rideshare Rodeo. I mean.
Okay, that's the kind of thing I was wondering. Can they CC it to me too? And that way, if they go, well, that was a bot. No, it wasn't.
Right. Exactly right. It's not a bot. Bots don't know anything about you.
Yeah.
Me.
I'm just, I mean, maybe that helps people do it more.
They have to.
I'm just thinking for the people who tell me my voice doesn't matter, who still say it.
No, the opposite is true. The opposite is true. One voice matters more than anything else because it's a real voice of a real person speaking up, and that's rare. And so the math, that one voice thing, they won't hear me. That's like salting everybody's, courage. You and I know. Look what you've done with Rideshare Rodeo. One individual makes an enormous difference in this society, and it's almost impossible to measure. Elon Musk, the current even the, the previous president, makes
Mhm.
if you misbehave, it makes a huge difference. If you behave well, if you behave, people want something new. This is definitely something new.
Yeah.
And people, I know some of the names of people in your audience, and they're the ones that speak up, but we need more.
Yeah, we do. And that's why I'm trying to brainstorm a new way to get them engaged.
Right.
Or like, here's 3 different ways you could do it. Like I want to give them as many options as I can. Like, hey, you can email, you can do a video. And if they're going, oh, here, okay, this thing again, I don't want you to do that. I want everybody to do something. The options that Mike and I have presented to all of you, and people that have already done it can tell you it takes under 5 minutes.
As I look down this list of the classes, there are reasons to exclude. What's happened is that the system has bulked up and congealed into one, or bulked down and congealed into little isolated, like, force factors that act on the system. Like, your state attorney general is elected and represents, in Colorado, what have you got, 10 or 12 million people? Do you know the population?
I'm not even sure. I mean, 90% of them are here, Colorado Springs. So
right. So, like, the attorney general pays basically no attention to a letter or an email. Like, hey, I got a lot of people here. The secretaries of labor are even more so. They're picked for their, how well they handle the media. They don't care what you think. Union bosses, they're not going to stop.
5.95 million.
5.95 million, right. So they know that they can ignore you, and they're also busy, and they find ways to justify it. Elected representatives are the most accessible of all the 10 classes. So we focus there because that's where to start. You could try to change the idea of a pro-union nonprofit that impersonates impassioned, independent researchers, but they're paid by their audience, and they're basically in business to produce things that are false. So they're not going to pay any attention. But the legislators are exposed, and we do have elections. We've got one coming up in 2026. In some states, we got
Virginia and New Jersey are this year. I thought a third one was too. I was trying to think, but I can't remember if that's true or not.
So we pick it because it's the place the most people have the freest access, the most unrestricted access, and almost any measure of lifting your finger counts. Again, what's easier than leaving a voicemail? You can leave it on the voicemail on the weekend. They'll listen to it. People are paid to listen.
Like for me, if I were to go and somehow videotape some of it too, so I can show somebody, because I'm sure you've watched these kind of things.
Yep.
If when our 2024 election cycle kicks off, where they're, the contenders start like showing up and doing speeches at small groups, and if I showed up to one and started asking very direct questions and catching it on video, is that kind of thing, I'm hoping that kind of thing is beyond powerful.
Yes, you have to do something that people will watch, which is why we've been counseling 30 seconds and under, 60 if you're thinking big. But yes, that would help. On the other hand, the best, if you knew a couple people on your street or on the next street who are all in the same representative district, like you're in one town I think everybody in your town is in the same district.
I border Aurora and Denver, so we're 2, but
okay.
But I fall on the Denver side.
All right. So if you got even 3 people and taped 15 seconds, one after the other, you put it together in the studio, like, that means a lot. That means that's 3 times what a normal small voice makes. And you went to the effort of putting 3 of your friends on there, call it 4, whatever. And that's a big deal. Like, this guy's actually going out and getting people's voices and images on this thing they're sending me. So they're going to look at it. Well, while they're looking at it, they're thinking about it, and they're not thinking about anything else at that moment. So you're ahead of the game, but you got to try something. They're going to take our work away. They're going to take our opportunity away. That is the purpose. They've been working at it for 87 years. They have tons of money, and you've got to do what you can to stop it. And what you have is a lot. You can do a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I see people, the reason I say that's because I see people on city council meetings live where only 4 are watching on YouTube or something, but I'll watch and I'll see like something very powerful from one person where they shut down the whole council.
Yes. That comes up all the time.
And it's not like they're like Harvard lawyers. These are just people.
They're impassioned citizens, and people pay attention.
Yeah. So, what is this? I already talked about this on 13 this week, but I know you looked into the actual Assembly Bill 1340 in California, which just gives me a headache even thinking about, because the AB5 thing destroyed many of Mike and my friends' careers, not gig app people.
Yes.
Like destroyed their careers, like ripped it into shreds, no rebuilding it. The only option they would have is to go back to like a W-2 form job, and they don't want to. Many of them were at a retired age where they were making 6 figures plus, and it was great. They wanted to keep doing it, but now they just can't. And now for the app-based world, they gave them an exclusion, or they said in January of 2020 when AB5 went into effect, they said, gig apps, you're going to have to follow this. And they said, no, we're not. We'll leave the state. And so they said, well, end of the month, you're going to have to leave the state then. And end of the month, they were unplugging the computers. And they said, okay, we'll let the ballot go on. You can have it till November. You can go about your business, but then we'll let the voters decide. The voters decided by 60% in the bluest state in the country that, no, we should let them be independent contractors. And now they're coming back and going, well, here's what I feel like. I feel like, again, it's one of those scenarios where it's like, do you not have the data? No, we have it. We don't like the results, so we're not going to share it.
This gets into legislative strategy. And I don't know how well, which I find personally very exciting. We have independent contractors actually have a lot of opportunity to try new things, which is why we've come up with this idea that to look at labor law as like a crime ring, because everybody's committing, everybody in it is dishonest, because they don't acknowledge the facts. They violate their oath of office. They ignore their constituents. So that's a new take on it. Now, not everybody has the opportunity to do what I'm doing and what many other people, our mutual friend Kim Cavan is absolutely wildly effective with her advocacy. But we continue to need more, and we need to continue to advocate outside the box thinking that will give our opponents pause. And so we're facing a quandary. Not everybody can come up with a new iPhone. That was Steve Jobs alone did that. But you even came up with a new one. Is what about a video of a couple of friends, and I'll add the phrase, from the same legislative district? Perfect. Absolutely a perfect idea. You could go down your street if you knew who lived on the street. You're in a suburban area. Anybody you knew was self-employed, ask them if they would say 10, 30 seconds.
Mike, I could stand in restaurants, and even though I'm not a fan of doing the food delivery platforms, I could stand in a restaurant that I know is always busy and get people's names and stuff, and they would give that to me. I could go in with 100. Right. So from 2 days of just gathering some info, like, hey, do you know you're going to lose your work? What?
What? Yeah, exactly. Like those people record this in Washington, in New York, and they like, hey, what about this? I didn't know anything about it. Even that is effective.
So here's Karen weighed in. This is Karen Anderson, who obviously is listening and is was destroyed by AB5 as well. She said the portion of Prop 22 that wasn't upheld, and this is what we were talking about before we started, was the provision that the legislator can make a law allowing rideshare to collectively bargain, because that's the only thing the Flex Association asked for. Fine, we'll give you this 120%, these fake medical benefits, this, that, and the other that really don't help you at all, but you can't collectively bargain. So now what? I mean, that's kind of proof they made a deal that it's like, well, hey, this Prop 22 isn't working out how we wanted, so let's look into this more. Well, you made it a law. And the toughest part for me on this one is you had the voters vote. How do you go back to the voters and say, yeah, sorry, we didn't really like your results?
Well, I am definitely not an attorney about, the appeals attorney on something like this. But it seems to me fundamentally unfair that the legislature can simply go, oh, like you said, oh, I don't like that. We'll just come up with a new law. I mean, how long is one of these proposals supposed to be effective? Why should anybody care about a ballot question if you can be overridden the next legislative session? They could do it in 2 weeks. Why wait a couple of years?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand how that is so easy in California to go, oh, sure, we'll just come back and change it.
And there's Karen's double on YouTube. It's Karen, but saying that this was litigated several years ago.
Yeah, which was Karen?
I think she's talking about the whole Prop 22 thing.
Yes, but they didn't. I don't think no one that I heard at the time was saying, well, the legislature could just come back. So this is just a wash. Doesn't matter. I don't.
No. Here we go. The provision of Prop 22 was not constitutional, but the drivers remain ICs.
Okay.
She said that, and I remember that. That's what was litigated. That's fine. We'll just go with it.
Steve, what we are missing here is any proposal for the law that would be supported by independent contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And because notice it's the unions who are writing all the legislation. They're going to win one if they're the only people who write it. So, one of the answers to your questions is write up a provision in the law that it doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be clear. It's like, if I want to be an independent contractor, I can be. And I'm exaggerating for clarity, but you don't have to be a drafter. Tell people aloud what you'd like to see in the law. That changes the conversation. I'm saying it. We have to change the subject. We can't keep doing this. No, you're laughing. It's true.
I'm laughing because of the stupidity of it, and also because, for a country that already has trouble getting people out to vote, I'm laughing at the point that there was an argument between the gig apps and the state. AB5 was in effect, and they gave them they said, we'll give you till November and we'll put it on the ballot. Let the people decide. They did. And now they're saying, well, we don't like that decision.
Right.
Now so to me, the voter, you're taking away, and I don't want to say this because everybody needs to vote, but you're even proving the point. What's the purpose in voting?
Well, the purpose in voting would be to express your opinion if that were
but if they can just go, we don't like your opinion. Too many of you had the wrong opinion.
It becomes a larger critique of California's governance, because nobody that people are talking to are free from a significant taint of our direct sworn opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And our opponents, they've done this in Massachusetts and tested out a lot of this and done it in California too. one party, actually one branch of one party, completely own the legislature. They own all of the higher elected officials in the state, and they own the right thereby to make any law that they want that is to their advantage. Now, Californians, they got shafted within, AB 5, but we've never really recovered the freedom that the Californians had before AB 5, because they exempted 100 powerful occupations and left everybody else to, bake in the sun. It's no good. So,
yeah, I mean, John says here 1099s can't collectively bargain under the National Labor Relations Act, but apparently they can under state laws.
I wasn't talking about bargaining. I was talking about proposing things and producing it for the news and talking about something else. Like, why are they're self-employers? Why are they subject to the to employment law as employees? That's nuts. They're not, they have the law should recognize the self-employer half of their dual nature as the commanding position and the responsible party in a single person, and that should go into contract law, not labor law.
So while AB 1340 it says it, some of the articles say Uber, Lyft drivers, but it's actually all gig workers. And even if somebody were to go, no, it's not, it's just this. If you look at any state that's passed this, within months, it's all gig workers. They just start with the rideshare drivers. But here's what I got at the end of the day. When they did AB 5, even though Karen probably, let's say, wouldn't have taken a W-2 job, had they created some from AB 5, that's the promise was to create it so that there'd be a job. So when you take away 1.3 million gig workers in California, where are the 1.3 million jobs coming from?
They disappear. That's what unionization does. Look at the coal miners.
Right, but here's the thing: the gig and the unions know this. This is where I get really confused. This is a repeat of the Prop 22 battle, because the state knew they were going to leave. Uber and Lyft was unplugging. They were leaving. They'll just leave.
Well, Uber and Lyft will probably be well advised to try unplugging, since they came close last time by threatening, but didn't quite get there. And
well, the state folded.
Yes.
But my point is, they're not going to ever go, all right, we'll try this. They're not going to go with unions and W-2 model and who's going to take a minimum wage job minus taxes, minus union dues to run their own car into the ground?
Yeah, it won't.
So, and the gig apps know this, and the gig apps won't participate, so they leave. So I'm not even talking about a minor disruption. I'm talking about one of the most major ones there could be. There will be all of the 1.34 million jobs or people working on gig apps won't have anywhere to go because they'll be gone.
Correct. But what's your point?
So I guess I'm wondering, I mean, like, somebody argued with me, look, they raised the minimum wage in California, so even fast food workers make more. Yeah, they did, but does everybody understand that they also have fully robotic fast food places now?
We went to McDonald's in Washington State, which is another high wage state, because Seattle's rich and they can afford to legislate anything. And there were almost no visible staff members. It's all kiosks and tables to sit at.
Well, I'm even talking about robots in the back. I've seen the operations where they do the work.
Well, McDonald's has got the message. They know that the unions, after the gig workers, the unions are coming for McDonald's. So they're saying, okay, we'll show you how this is done. There won't be any workers. You won't come because there are no workers to unionize. How about that? And then they do it. And who pays the price is every teenager who was going to get their introduction to the private sector and to following orders and working as a team and quality and good, cheery good nature, regular attendance. They're going to learn all those lessons and get paid a perfectly nice salary They don't have anything. They have no jobs left. I mean, we were talking about, what was that? Woolsey, Washington. There are McDonald's all over the place, but they're robots. They're kiosks.
So what is, I know you were just kind of just looking it over since I sent it to you yesterday, but what is your takeaway from AB 1340 that's 7 million words or pages or whatever?
7,900 unexciting words with very all the language used that I've read so far is directly attributable to what I call ballot question 3 in Massachusetts. I think it was last year.
Mhm.
And it sets up these TNCs, and it sets up a cat's paw little union, and people can be in or out. It is the thing that just absolutely choked me is that they are insisting in the legislation that the apps hand over the current contact information of everybody who's driving more than 20 rides in 6 months or something over to the unions.
Yep.
And that means that every union in the country is by osmosis going to have access to your driver's personal access information. It will never stop. You will have to let go of the email and the phone and the contact information. You'll have to move. You're going to be hearing from them. My dad passed away 12 years ago, and we are still getting mail for him. You know,
so I need to ask you about that point, because like when Uber gets hacked, Uber was hacked, and yes, they've been hacked many times, but they were hacked for 59 million users. They got fined beyond belief for having personal data of Uber drivers. Why are unions just allowed to have it? Because
the unions make the regs. They don't have to answer to you and me and Karen and anybody else. They've got the power, and so they're gonna,
But that seems like data theft to me. It just does.
Well, it is. But it's legal. That's why the whole thing of labor law is the same way. It's all legal, and yet it's horrible, immoral. You couldn't get away with this if you behaved like a kid like this. Well, maybe in public schools.
I mean, when you say legal, I don't know how else to explain it, but I'm immediately thinking it's legal, but it's illegal. It's like,
no, it's
not just unethical. It almost seems illegal.
What are we talking? I even got out the 10 Commandments to the 8th. We've got 10 classes of people who are telling and enforcing and getting paid to pass around absolutely untruthful statements. Absolutely untruthful. And Karen has testified in the presence of people who are paid to do that, and she's aware of it. Mm-hmm. But you can't stop them because the law allows it. It's legal to lie about independent contractors. It's illegal to say you are one when you aren't. It's legal. It's legal to say, oh, there aren't very many independent contractors. This won't really hurt people, which is what they said back in 2004 in Massachusetts. And when we came along and said, hey, this is a lot of jobs, they stopped saying it. So that one's been put to rest. So independent contractors, you're looking for a list entry. Independent contractors need to say the opposite, the factual opposite of the impression that's being foisted onto us. That's unconstitutional. We do not have to associate with that. So it's the germ of more resistance. You just have
to. Outside of the personal information, what else does the 7,000 word piece of junk say?
It sets up. I apologize for not having read more of it.
No, it's
the thing that's tricky about this is that they have a lot of ifs and shalls and ifs and shall nots, and they're nested, and then they have two different criteria, And then, the parties may present either orally or in writing or both statement of fact, supporting witnesses and other evidence and argument. You have to think about this stuff.
So you're talking about like coding, like if then statements, if this, then this.
Right. And then, and it refers to other paragraphs. So it's not all in the right place. And you have to read one of these things about
But see, that's why there's 7,000 pages, because nobody will read it.
That's exactly right. We've talked about this. They write them long so that nobody pays attention. You have to stay awake the whole time. It's not like even Moby Dick where there's a whale that they're trying to catch. It's not that exciting. And then each of these words are litigated. Love to Karen's comment. The words are litigated and have their own little legal meaning.
I thought you meant this comment that she just put up.
Illegal for the putative hiring entity to classify someone as an independent contractor when they allegedly are not.
It's not illegal
for the IC to call themselves an IC. Yes, but with bad intent. Yes, that's that. Okay, but if it's not illegal to walk in and be a paid union member and to say I'm an independent contractor with the intent, which is what court is intended to find out, but no one ever will, you're lying. You're saying you're an IC. You want project work. You don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
No. Not 7,000 pages.
No, words.
7,000 words. It's 1/4 the length of Old Man in the Sea. and you have to read it 8 times, so it's twice as long by the time you're done rereading it. I mean, this is highly nuanced stuff. It's written to be expressly clear, providing the benefits to the unions and nothing to anybody else. That's a difficult job. And in order to root out what is happening, what's actually happening with the words, you have to reread it. It's not once and done.
I mean, again, and to me, it just goes back to, all our elected officials are supposed to do things for the people. When we voted, supposed to be for or when they voted for Prop 22, 60% of California, then they're like, wait, no, we don't like we thought you'd vote the other way. So we're going to get rid of that. But shouldn't this stuff be like 500 words that are very easy to read for the common person?
Yes. But see, Steve, they would never do that.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying it gets worse and worse and worse. Why can't somebody say to that?
There is no bill.
It's crazy to me that this doesn't get stopped.
No long bill is good for the public.
Right. But I'm saying it's also not necessary either. It's not, these 7,000 words aren't necessary to get across the point.
How many words are in the Constitution? I think it's
7,000.
What?
Not 7,000.
Right. I mean, all of our rights are conveyed in a couple of hundred words, even a 2,000 or something. I don't know what it is, but it's really terse. When we wrote Be My Own,
Karen says it's more words than AB 5, 1340. So
it's Karen's getting into it with us. Yeah. It's intended to be difficult for people to understand, impossible to turn to our advantage. No long bill. Yes, Karen, exactly right. No long bill is good for the public.
It's like the people representing us they write out 500 words and then they hand it to a group of people and say, make this so it's unreadable. Because we don't want the people knowing what we're doing.
The staffers already know how to do this. They wrote this in 2023 for use in Massachusetts in 2024. And this was just I don't know. I'm still looking. There are tricks in here and I can't find them yet. So I know I haven't even read it with a ruler, which is my first step. Read the damn thing with a ruler.
Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, I think most of us, because I keep hearing about it, we all know basic income or whatever that is never going to happen ever. Universal basic income. But I hear it more and more and more. And I hear it from these states where people are like, well, they're taking away all the jobs. At least someday we'll have universal basic. No, you won't. And there's also going to be no jobs. At this point, there's going to be no jobs.
They will hate it more than they've ever hated anything if it comes. That's how.
It'll look more like a broken welfare system.
That's how we got the fentanyl crisis in my home region of the Midwest. People didn't have any future. They had a little bit of cash coming in from trickling in from benefits, and they spent it on drugs because they felt so bad. It's just like alcohol and vodka to the old Soviet Union. People had no hope, so they got drunk. It was cheap, and that's it's degradation and the breakup of civilization. We can solve every problem we've described here, but we've got to do it better. That's why we're having this conversation.
Well, we have to make other people do it better. I think we've talked it through, maybe it needs to be talked through more, but we've talked it through to the point where we make sense. They don't even make sense. I'm sorry. I've given up on that.
Who?
Some of these lawmakers, to me, I'm like, I need to see their contract with the devil, I guess. Because they're making a ton of they're making a ton of money to just hurt people. And they know it.
Well,
I'm sorry. I feel like they know it.
No, they're aware of the grift that they're involved in. It's too big, and they're too committed already to leave it. They know that everybody knows where they live, and if they started going whistleblower, that they're going to wind up in a park with in a bad condition. That's how the game is played, and there's so much evidence of this out there. I am astonished at how many good, effective people are continuing to come forward and push back. Our government has been taken over by like these willing liars in so many different areas. It's just different people and different laws, but there are no IC input in this law, not anywhere. Not a letter of the law is helpful to independent contractors.
And that's what's her name, Buffy Wicks from California, Oakland district, even said. We need to get them a seat at the table. There aren't enough seats to get us at the table.
We shouldn't be having to negotiate anything. We're employers, and we follow the law. We can make a contract for anything. If some lumber company does a stupid deal and loses, money on 4,000 tons of plywood, nobody comes rushing in to say, "Oh, we'll have a benefits program for all the people in your plant." Like, give me a break. This is contract law. But they see one of the lies is right away is that everybody's an employee. Everybody who works in a service business is an employee. No, not true. They've got 76 million examples. They won't speak up because they're busy taking care of their families, their kids, paying their bills. They're respectable citizens. They are self-employed, and the law does not acknowledge them because they're not supposed to have any access to the courts. The courts would fall all over themselves. Hearing what Karen's people have said about independent contracting would horrify if even a fraction of them came in to testify what they've gone through. The courts would break down. They just stop.
In fact, you guys, what I'll do that I haven't done in a while is I'll put her blog rolls in here of the 608 careers that were destroyed by AB5, as well as the testimonials. There's a blog roll, so you can read and you'll relate to these people right away. You'd be like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like every story won't make sense to you, but they're all true. I don't know. I'm beyond upset at this point. I feel like I'm ready to wring some necks, like I've just kind of like, where are the good people? Where are the good guys?
See, in California, the unions know they can put anything through the legislature, and they got kind of stuck up on the ballot question. Now, in Massachusetts, it's the opposite way around. They know they can get anything through on a ballot equation, ballot question. So they put it in the ballot question. They've had less luck in the legislature. We're just as blue a state, but our arrangement is a little different. In California, you can actually have a recall. We can't recall anybody in Massachusetts. It's a 4-year gig you're going to work if you got elected AG.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, I really don't know how to dig into California, because I know some of the smartest people like Karen's and stuff out there who have been fighting this since 2020. I mean, California seems to be this entity that's like, we're okay with everybody moving out of the state. Just leave.
It's not the people of California who think that.
No. They love their state, but they have people in office who go to extremes I can't even understand or imagine.
Well, if you want to understand it, you got to understand who would benefit if everybody left California. And California is the morale capital of America. That's where everybody thinks, oh, God, we can move to California. Or they got the greatest scenery. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Do people still think that, though? I don't think so.
Well, they're changing it. It's changing on purpose. Gavin Newsom is one of the most plugged in people to the future of California. It's could go on for hours of what Gavin Newsom actually knows and doesn't act on. His donors come from in-state, nationally, and internationally, and they want California destroyed so that no one will care when California goes away and becomes part of some other little system.
Yeah, but I know people who used to even vacation to California. They don't go there anymore.
Right.
Period. People leave that live there, and nobody goes to visit anymore. So
we had a family member with a family in there, and we traveled to LA frequently. I would go there now. That's crazy.
Yeah. But so
burned down.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. Anyway, well, let me tell you, let's put it this way, Steve. One voice makes a huge difference. And if you put 3 voices in a little short video, that makes 10 times the difference. So you can do the math. Get together with a couple people and you'll look huge. So I like.
And so maybe maybe that's the point of this episode, guys. Is we've said this before, but like look at where it's at now.
Do you have a next door neighbor, someone in your apartment building, somebody down the street, a shopkeeper who's self-employed? Mm-hmm. Get together and the 2 of you or the 3 of you do a little video and send that to your state rep. Send that, if you're in California, send it to your California rep. But they've got to see something more because they haven't seen much from independent contractors. They don't actually know that they're a threat to their future.
But we're over 40% of the workforce now.
Yes, and growing.
So nobody. I mean, come on. I even said that recently. That I even think the W-2 model's dead. I
agree.
Because of all these headaches. I mean, like it just doesn't make sense. And especially with these future generations, they're never going to do that stuff.
No, they're the future generation.
They haven't even entered the workforce. My son, for example, he would never do this crap.
Is he 18?
Yeah, but he's leaving for college here soon. And he's going to be in sports medicine and stuff. And that's all good. But I mean, like, he's very vocal like me. He'd be like, what is this? Wait, why do I have to be in this? Is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, I think you're going to have a very vocal young group of people coming up who are going to, and that's why, and in some ways it can be bad too, because you look at New York and I mean, New York City, if they put that guy in for the state-run grocery stores and stuff, you guys are idiots. And I'm sorry to say it that way, but if you vote for that guy, trust me, you're getting nothing of what he's promising.
Mamdani's election was what, 19% of the voters, and he barely got a majority or something like that. And
the fact he even got one in that, though, just blows my mind.
They're all rabid in New York City because the people that vote are not the ones who think they're going to get hurt by it.
Yeah.
So,
but the millionaires will move out so that day one, you can't pay for it. Done.
Ron DeSantis says they already are.
So I don't know. People need to act. I mean, maybe Mike can help me come up with a page of links even. Maybe we can start to do a state by state thing so that you guys can go there and just go, okay, what do I need? These are the people you email. Boom. Here, you're in Montana. Boom.
You're
here. Boom. Like, we'll just put it out there and everybody do it. Again, it takes 5 minutes. If you think I got to work today. Okay. Well, I know for a fact, a lot of you gig workers sit idle for 25 minutes waiting for the next offer. Use that time.
Yep. Use that time. Perfect.
I mean, otherwise, what are you doing? You're not doing anything to help. Sorry.
Steve, thank you. This has been a terrific opportunity. I want to thank our audience. I want to thank everybody who's been on the show and typed their comments in. I want to thank Karen and John.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of people in here. Thank you, Jerseyman. I know Jerseyman. He's in the lives a lot too. Bubba Susan here, but he said earlier that he's in Jersey, obviously. He said he's been seeing a lot of Kim Cavan commercials on YouTube, so that's a good thing too. I knew that she had made them. I'm not seeing them because I'm not, they geo-fence the states. Yeah. So in Colorado, they're not going to play Kim Cavan commercials, but he's in Jersey and he's seeing them a lot. So,
yeah.
But again, guys, make sure to check out Mike too. Be My Own Boss podcast. It's not the acronym. It's actually Be My Own Boss podcast.
Wednesday at 2, we're going to have Lies, Laws, and Liberty. I think that's going to be we're going to talk about what it means.
Every Wednesday, you guys, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, Mike does a podcast. He's already created more than a year's worth, so go over there. I know that some of you already have. I'll put that link down there too. So there's going to be some links down there after I'm done calming down from all of this junk that has just been so upsetting because we can do something. I guess that's my final words. We can do something. Let's do it.
And Steve, it's August. We got to remember, outside our studios, it's actually a great summer month. Go grab some columbines way up there and wave at a pica or something, and get some mountaineering time in, and we'll clear our
for
head.
me, I do. That is what helps ground me.
Yeah,
is getting into the mountains, and for me, even more than August, I love the winter. So I'm all about being up there once it snows.
Rugged.
I mean, I like going up there now too, but it's just not the same. When it snows, it's like my world.
Rugged
Everything goes
Colorado.
So
anyway,
thank you, Mike. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And if it seemed a little harsh, I told you guys last week, this week would be a little harsh because we need to do this. Get videos, email people, email me, Steve at Rideshare Rodeo. I'll help you find. I've been helping others. I'll help you find anything you need to get the word out. Let's do it. Let's make noise.
We have much room to be optimistic about. Much.
Yeah.
Actually,
but we have to make that change. You can't just sit idle.
Look at it this way. You're rehearsing for 2026. That's really going to be the election.
Yeah.
So let's get practiced. Get that.
Yeah, we got 13 months left. 14 months left.
It's a rehearsal.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, guys. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Okay.
She was just a baby.